very familiar to our congregation, but I want to speak a few words as a Vaishnava etiquette. So Prabhu is actively participating in many temple services. He is the first few members to be present at the temple for Sunday Feast program, because he need to set up the telecasting the temple program. And every day, whether it is a rain or shine, Prabhu open a bridge for the Japa conference every morning at 5:30 a.m. So Prabhu is so determined, and Prabhu actively participating in book distribution and all other activities. Above all, Prabhu is very kind and sincere devotee and inspiring others. With that, we are welcoming Radha Damodar Prabhu by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Radha Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you, Satsara Prabhu, Jasubhadra Mataji, Satyrupa Prabhu, for giving me an opportunity to give this devotional service. So this also helps me beautifying myself by giving this kind of Bhagavad-Gita classes. So let me start sharing my screen. Everyone can see my screen? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Right. So today we will be, the verse given is from 6th chapter, verse number 7. So before we start Bhagavad Gita class, we should invoke the Jai Radha Madhav song to bring the correct mood. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, we'll move on to the prayers before we start the class. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumidamena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Vandeham Sri Gurum Sri Yuda Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrahamsya Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Stativam Sadvaivam Swavadutam Parijadana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhamsya Vidamscha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांदा राधा कांदा नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय बुधले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So Hare Krishna devotees will read from the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, 7th verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse I am going to sing, you can recite, some of you can recite after I sing. Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahitah Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Yatha Mana Pamanayoha. Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahitah Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Tadha Mana Pamanayoha. Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahitah Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Tada Mana Pamanayoha. Hare Krishna devotees, if anyone would like to recite the verse, please go ahead and recite the verse.
I can try, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Jitatmanaha prasantasya paramatma samahitaha sitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatha manapamanoya.
Hare Krishna, can I say also?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma sumahitaha sitoshna sukha dukeshu tatha mana pamana yoha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyone else would
Hare
like?
Krishna.
Very nice.
Prabhu, can you try?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Chitatmanah prasantasya paramatma samahitaha sitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatamana pamanayo.
Thank you, Prabhuji. One more person.
Chitatmanaha prashantasya Paramatma samahitah Sitosna Sukha Dukkeshu Tata Mana Pamanoyaha.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So the synonyms: Jitatmanaha, of one who has conquered his mind; Prashantasya, who has attained the tranquility by such control over the mind; Paramatma, the super soul; Samahitaha, approached completely; Shita, in the cold; Ushna, heat; Sukha, happiness; Dukkeshu, the distress and distress; Tatha, also; Mana, in honor; Apamana yoha, and dishonor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained the tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Okay. Purport. Anyone would like to read the purport?
I can read, Prabhu.
Go ahead, Puji.
Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external, illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or Super Soul, because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness. By the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi or absorption in the Supreme.
Thank you, Kanna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. All right. So, before we get started, we'll just give a little background. This is the Bhagavad-Gita was spoken in the battleground of Kurukshetra when before the war between Pandavas and the Kauravas, and Arjuna, when he saw all his relatives he has to kill in this war, he felt compassionate, and also he realized, he cannot enjoy this kingdom after killing all of them. So he felt what all fearful reactions that can come by killing all his relatives, right? And also this could cause the dynasty's destruction. So all those thoughts came to Arjuna, and Arjuna decided not to fight. Right? Now Arjuna became bewildered, confused, and he has no idea what to do next. Right? I mean, in one sense he has to fight, in another sense he is unable to make a decision. So he decides to surrender to Lord Krishna and seek his advice. Right? He becomes the Krishna by surrendering. Arjuna becomes the disciple, and Krishna becomes the guru. So this is the by taking advice from guru, we will be directed to the right path. So Krishna tries to make Arjuna understand what are the fundamental the reason why he has to fight, right? And by giving the fundamental knowledge. Then, so Krishna also, explains how this knowledge is linked to the yoga processes. By various yoga processes, you can control your mind, and you will come to know what is the right path in your life, who you are, and what is the purpose of your life. All those things Krishna is explaining through various yoga processes. And this particular verse given to me is from chapter 6 about Dhyana Yoga. Right, so we'll go a little more detail. So, as we mentioned, Krishna is explaining various yoga processes. So let's just get a high-level idea about from chapter 2 onwards. It describes various yoga processes. Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is to do the prescribed duties. And Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, has to fight. That is the prescribed duty of a Kshatriya, right? And he can do in such a way that it won't incur any sin at all. So Karma Yoga is basically to lift everyone to the path of, to the mode of goodness. By doing the right things, people can come to the mode of goodness. Right? Then it's the whole yoga progression Krishna is teaching us is a spectrum, meaning when one ends, the next one starts. When the other one ends, the next one starts. It goes on like that. So the next stage in developing knowledge is the Nishkama Karma Yoga. So in the Nishkama Karma Yoga, we will do things as we did everything in Karma Yoga, which is with the duties we have to do, but here without any attachment to the results. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? And the next level to the Nishkama Karma Yoga is to offer all the results to the Vishnu. That is where we offer all our results to Krishna, right? So then that is how we introduce Bhakti. Then there is Jnana Yoga also. Jnana Yoga is where one has to have the transcendental knowledge about the Absolute while practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. So when we are doing the Nishkama Karma Yoga, we also need to have knowledge about the Absolute, knowledge about Krishna and whom to meditate upon. All those things we come to know by getting this knowledge. And when Karma Yoga is perfected with knowledge and renunciation, that stage is called Jnana Yoga. So then comes the Dhyana Yoga, which is the Ashtang Yoga. This is about this chapter, chapter 6. This is when the Jnana Yoga, when it increases in meditation of the Paramatma. So as we all know, Paramatma is sitting in our heart. And when we realize that Paramatma is within our heart and he is the observer of all our activities, and he is giving us the direction, then we are able to focus on the super soul. When we reach that perfect stage, the mind is that is called the Dhyana Yoga stage. That's called also known as Ashtanga Yoga, the 8-step process of yoga. And this is where many of the yogis are interested in getting to. And then the final process is the Bhakti Yoga. This is the perfect process. This is what actually helps us connect to the Supreme Lord by means of loving devotion service to the Supreme Lord. Right? So Krishna is explaining all these yoga progressions to Arjuna, so that he gets all the knowledge. And finally Arjuna asks, what is the best process of all? So Krishna tells that Bhakti Yoga is the best process, and it's very easy to easy to follow, and you can easily, whereas all the other methods are very difficult to actually execute, and we will get easily distracted there. All right. So the Dhyana Yoga, so the sixth chapter, that's what we are actually more focused on. So in the Dhyana Yoga, we are talking about advancing the yoga using through detachment. That's how it starts. Explains. So we should not be attached to the material things. That is the starting point, right? And like that, we advance in the yoga stage, various yoga stages. There are 8 processes, niyama, like that. Various processes are there to reach the final advanced stage. So this chapter actually gives a summary of different stages of Ashtang Yoga, and how do we follow. Like you had to the very most advanced stage is called Yoga Ruddha stage, Yoga Ruddha stage, and that is the perfection of yoga practice. And so it also, this chapter also gives the symptoms of a person who has reached those stages, right? So, and it also explains what are the necessities of controlling the mind, and who is a topmost yogi. All those things are being taught in this chapter, right? So now we'll come to our specific to our verse, that is Bhagavad-Gita 6.7. Here, before that, a few other verses are also very important. So here in the Dhyana Yoga process, we are, we are to control our mind, right? And then we are talking about what is our mind's role here. So the previous verses are related to this one. So one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. This is a very famous verse. So the mind is can be your friend as well as your enemy as well. So first of all, then the next verse says, so who is a friend? When is it this mind is our friend? When for the person who has conquered his mind, he is the friend. And for who is not able to conquer the mind, he will remain the greatest enemy for the soul, right? So that is a very important property of the mind. Now our verse is that now it explains how does a person who has achieved the highest stage, how does he look like? What is his symptoms? So this verses from 6 to 10 explains this one. So we will just go over the 7th verse. So one who has conquered the mind like that, and those who have actually reached the supreme, they are already reached the super soul, right? They have attained the tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, cold and heat, honor, dishonor are all the same. So a person who is in a steady mind, sthita prajna stage, he has already controlled, he is able to control the mind. So that is the symptom of a person who has full control of the mind, right? Now we'll explain an ideal great example of a person, so that we can visualize how he looks like, right? We have from our Shastras Haridas Thakur. He has perfected the mind. So I'll give a brief story of Haridas Thakur, just understand how a person who has full control over the mind looks like. Haridas Thakur would chant his holy name of Krishna 300,000 times daily in front of Tulsi. Right? So he has already achieved. This is the time during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, right? So those days there were Muslim rulers in that Bengal regions, and the person who was ruling of that district called Ramachandra Khan. He was a very envious person of all the Krishna devotees, and he would try to dishonor everyone by doing various process, and particularly they were envious about Haridas Thakur because his popularity was going great, and he decides to dishonor by sending a prostitute. And he convinced the prostitute that you had to do distract him from his process. So this lady goes to the Haridas Thakur and tries to distract. So in the night time he goes, but Haridas Thakur, as mentioned, he's continuously chanting. So Haridas Thakur says, let me finish I have a vow, I have to finish this japa, then I will attend you, right? So like that, but the japa continued. This lady kept waiting, but it was going early morning. She felt sleepy and she slept off. So the next day, the daylight came. Haridas Thakur continued his chore and came back to his his chanting. This lady had to leave. Then she again came the next day night, and he again the same thing happened in the second night also. Like that, 3 days went past, and the third night she was also hearing. She had been hearing about the Mahamantra that is being chanted by a pure devotee, right? And he was in full control of the whole situation. He never stayed away from the vow he has taken, that to chant this many rounds, right? And during the hearing process, this lady actually became got enlightened, and she got purified by listening to this chanting, and she understood her mistake and she accepted her mistake and confessed everything to Haridas Thakur. And so just by listening to the chanting of a pure devotee, everyone's mind can change. So we can also control our mind by purely chanting very purely, or listening to a pure devotee chanting, or associating with a pure devotee. So that's how we can control our mind and reach this perfect stage. Of course, here we are talking about a devotee as well. So there are devotional services also is included in this case. So, but at least you can see the symptoms of a person who was able to control the mind. Now, what is this mind? So we are trying to control. So that we have to understand the origin of the universe and who we are, what is our purpose. Everything has to be understood in order to understand what's mind. So at the time of creation, Mahavishnu creates this total material energy known as Mahatattva. Right? So once Mahavishnu glances upon this Mahatattva in the Pradhan, it becomes Mahatattva, and various living entities are then put into this Mahatattva, right? And later Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into this universe and creates various diversities within this universe. Then later, as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he starts getting into each and every soul, living being, as a super soul, right? And he is known as the Paramatma. So he is present in every atom, and in between the atom, he is present everywhere. Now, in Bhagavad-Gita 7.4, it says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhar evacha ahankara idya me bhinna prakriti ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All this forms together my 8 separated material energies. So there is where the mind is. So mind is coming from Krishna himself, right? I mean, he's one of the senses that are created during the creation of the universe itself. And so these we are the living entities. We are spirit soul actually. We are not this body, and we are actually belonging to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. We are also energy of the Lord. We are part and parcel of the Lord. And there is also this matter, which is called which is the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. That consists of different elements, material elements, known as earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Right? And this both together forms so one is the gross element. Gross elements means that something which we can visualize. So earth, water, fire, ether, ether. So all those 5 elements, they are known as Pancha Mahabhuta. They can be visualized. So they are called the gross elements. The other 3 elements are the subtle elements, which includes mind. And mind, these are all product of this Lord's inferior energy. And what are we doing? We meaning the souls. We are with the material body, which is made of this Pancha Mahabhut, and we are actually exploiting this inferior nature, that is the material nature, and Krishna is allowing us to do that, giving that opportunity because we desire to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. And Supreme Lord is the controller of all of us, all the living entities, and we are the controlled. So that gives the premises of what is mind, right? And mind is actually referenced various places in the scriptures. One of the places I liked was the how we can from Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Shiva is praying to the Supreme Lord about help me control the mind. So that is the part I thought I'll bring it up here. So Lord Shiva is praying to Supreme Lord in front of as an instruction to the Prajetas. Okay. Rishikesha means Lord himself, the controller of the senses. Rishikeshendriyatmane. The mind is the director of the senses. And Krishna has expanded in the quadruplet expansion. One of them is Lord Aniruddha. Okay, and Aniruddha is the director of the mind. And in order to execute devotional services, one has to fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the most important part. We have to fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. That is so. Therefore, Lord Krishna Shiva is actually praying to Lord Aniruddha, please help me engage my mind in the service of Lord, at the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So that's something which we can pray to. So we can pray to Lord Aniruddha for controlling our mind. Now it's also stated in Bhagavad-Gita that Manmana Bhavato Madhyani Mam Namaskuru. The mind has to be engaged in the meditation of the lotus feet of the Lord in order to execute proper devotional service. So we have multiple references saying that where our mind should be engaged. Then another place in Bhagavad Gita is that Matta Smriti Jnanam Abohanam Cha. So the Lord also is the cause of our remembrance and knowledge and forgetfulness. And if Lord Aniruddha is pleased, he can help us, help our mind to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Right? Now, Lord Aniruddha is also a sun god, in charge of the sun god. So, the sun god actually, if you see all the dirty places, it sterilizes all the unclean things, right? So we can pray to Aniruddha, which is who is the representation of the sun god, to especially clean our mind, which is filled with dirty things, so that we can make spiritual progresses. Right? So there are a few more references. Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Tasyarpada Chesaham Vyavasayatmika Bhakti Samadhana Samadhavana Vidyate. So here Lord is saying to Arjuna that so if your mind is not attached to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, what happens? So such people cannot actually cannot render devotional service to the Lord. Krishna just doesn't allow. They will be always after sense enjoyment and material opulences. That they just cannot do devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So that's why we should be focusing our mind on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So again, what is yoga? We talked about yoga. Yoga means to concentrate our real yoga means to concentrate our mind on the Supreme Lord, who is actually controlling all our senses. We can also see that we have bhajans also written, Vaishnava bhajans. One of the famous bhajan is this one, Bhajahure mana Srinanda Nandana. Bhajahure mana Srinanda Nandana. So here, O mind, just worship the lotus feet of son of Nanda, which makes one fearless. So that there are prayers like this. So there are many other prayers also like this. I just happen to choose one of them. So why I brought up all this thing is that everybody, all throughout our process, the bhakti processes, we are telling ourselves, is reminding us that we should be focusing our mind on Krishna, the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is, we are reminded through various processes, right? Through the scriptures, through bhajans, all our acharyas are all trying to remind us this particular thing, and still we are disturbed. Despite of all these things, we are still disturbed. So this is where the challenge is, right? So what we can do? This is where we wanted to improve upon various things. So what we will do is this. This is the education which we got it from Satyasara Prabhu some time back. So I was just going to focus on this particular topic a lot more. So we can do control our mind. So we, as we all know, when we start chanting in the morning or anytime, our mind is totally distracted. We will start with a lot of enthusiasm, right? But what's happening? Mind is not nowhere near our control, right? So we start chanting very nicely, but our thought process keep coming, and without even we knowing, our mind is distracted, right? And we, after some time, we realize, oh my goodness, we have already our focus is gone, right? So here, mind is actually a driver. Mind is like a driver, and our body is the chariot or car. Okay, and the driver, it's the driver's business. So it's mind's business to drive wherever we are asking it to go, right? So if we say we have to go to the temple, mind will take us to the temple. If we say we have to go to say watch a movie, or watch a cricket match or something like that, our mind will be taken that way. So most important thing is to realize that we are the control. We meaning the soul. We are the controller of the mind. So if we can control the mind, then mind becomes our friend, right? Otherwise, mind is our enemy. Now, when we start chanting, we are doing focusing on Krishna, our mind is going to get distracted. Now, who is causing that distraction? The Maya. Maya is going to fight with us, right? And there's a constant fight between Maya and us. And this Maya is actually, it's Maya's business to distract us or keep us in this material world. Maya is also a external energy of the Supreme Lord, the energy of the Supreme Lord. So this Maya wants to keep us always in the material world, and Maya is going to keep us giving a lot of hard time. So our real enemy is actually Maya. Now we can come out of this one. So there is actually a fight between us and this Maya, and there's going to be a pull, right? We want to do, all of us want to do sincerely devotional services, and we want to go towards Krishna consciousness. So we are trying to pull towards the Krishna consciousness. But what happens is we are also being pulled down by the Maya, and so it's a tug of war between both the parties, right? And mostly, as we all know, it is the Maya which wins, right? So how do we overcome that? That is the whole theme. So in order to overcome that, we need to have association of the devotees who have actually overcome all these things. So those are, when we say devotees here, we are talking about advanced devotees, right? Those who have achieved that perfection. So the first class devotees. And we may not always have their association, but there are representatives of such devotees who are also following that processes. So we have a lot of shiksha gurus and a lot of sadhus association we can take. So when we are aligned with the gurus and shastra, we have to study the shastra, and shastra means our Bhagavad-Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, books like this. All these things are going to help us focus our mind on Krishna or anything associated with Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is that we have to hear about, especially Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam talks about various devotees. And it also tells about how each of those devotees are controlling their mind, or they are making spiritual progresses. What are the troubles they are gone through, and how they overcame all those troubles. And they are finally they realizes the ultimate truth, and then they offer prayers to the Supreme Lord. So from all these prayers that are available in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand that we have to there are devotees who have actually gone through the same issues that we are going through. Okay, maybe it is in the old time, but everything is still relevant to us, because the problems of this earth, our material world, is the same, right? It has not changed. We have our basic problems are birth, death, old age, and diseases. These are our real problems. We might be thinking we have problems of okay, I have this snow came the other day, and it I couldn't get out of this house. I couldn't do my daily chores. All those things might be a problem. There is health issues, all kinds of. There is a fight with that person, this person, and that person is saying something else. So our mind is always disturbed by all these things. So these are not the real problems. The real problem is we are in the cycle of birth and death for millions of years, or time immemorial. So we don't know when we came to this world, and we had been going through the cycle of birth and death, and we need to come out of that stage, and that needs our help of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhus. So when we are aligned with them, when we are working with them, then we get that upward pull. Otherwise, we may go up little bit. The next in few days later, we will be pulled back, right? So we all have seen this one. We, after listening to a wonderful class by senior devotees, or when we are attracted by his class, we will have a lot of enthusiasm for first few days sometimes, or sometimes it lasts for weeks. But after some times, we again come back to the our old lifestyle, right? So that is where this pulling down coming from. So we need to go to the upward pull. That is, we need to reach that escape velocity from the gravitational pull we have. So the downward pull, we want to go above, beyond that. So in order to get there, we need to have this strong association with the devotees. Now, also we need to have strong determination. So this strong determination means, how do we get the strong determination? By actually scrutinizingly studying the scriptures. As I said earlier, Srimad Bhagavatam is one place where we can find various devotees. Kunti Devi was having all kinds of problems, and Kunti Devi could come out of all the situations just by focusing on the Supreme Lord and following his instructions. Right? So you will get a lot of such examples just by scrutinizingly studying the scriptures. Right? Then another point is by strong sadhana. We need to do our sadhana properly. What does that mean? Meaning we have to have a regulated lifestyle, and we have to get initiated from our spiritual master. We need to accept a person who is advanced in the stage, and we need to take his shelter. And once he has taken the shelter, then we need to have a regulated lifestyle. A regulated lifestyle is getting up early in the morning, do our japa, then follow the four regulative principles, and do services, devotional services. So in order to do devotional services, we have to associate with right devotees, bona fide devotees, and they will guide us on doing devotional services. Again, the devotional services comes by mercy of the devotees and by Krishna. All these things comes by the mercy of the Lord. So we need to, as we mentioned earlier, we need to still pray to Krishna, or Lord Aniruddha, who is the expansion of Lord Krishna, so that we continue to associate with devotees, and we will be able to do strong sadhana. And whenever there's a strong sadhana, our determination also goes up. It goes hand in hand. Then that discipline also is important. So as I mentioned earlier, the discipline comes only with association, right association. Meaning, so if we are associated with senior devotees like Satsara Prabhu or any other senior devotees, then they are always engaged in the service of the Lord, right? They are always constantly thinking about doing devotional services. And remember, devotional services are pure. What we are doing is pure devotional services. So when we are doing pure devotional services, our mind get cleansed. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Devagni Nirvagna. That's how Chaitanya Prabhu has said that when we do this chanting and association with the right devotees, our mind gets cleansed. When our mind is cleaned, then we will be able to do all these things, sadhana and study. Everything will go hand in hand. So when we do the right, that cleansing process happens, we will be able to have more strong determination to continue to control our mind as well. So this is where we will be able to get, when we have the strong determination to go towards our goal. Now we talk about goal. So what is our goal in our life? Our goal of life, if we is to go back to Godhead, Krishna, right? And we want to then do loving service to Lord Krishna. So when our goal is very clear to us, then we will be more determined. So we had to first get convinced by our goal itself. So once we are steady in our determination to achieve this goal, then we will be able to control our mind better. And whenever any distraction comes our way, so we will always get distracted, but we will recognize in our head that, okay, no, I have to, this is my goal, I need to continue to reach that goal. So we will be able to overcome that pull. So we want to go to as upward pull, right? Even if it is dragged down once in a while due to various things. We have all kinds of calamities that can happen. The three types of calamities that problems that can happen in our life, right? So one is so we can overcome all of them by just by focusing, having strong determination. Now, how is this related to our mind control? So in order to understand this one, we have to actually analyze ourselves, right? Where is our mind? What is stored in our mind? So there is something called vrittis, vasanas and samskaras. These are the three things that controls our mind, basically. So these three things, that is vritti. So let me explain this terminology first before I make more details about this. Vrittis means tendencies or disposition. That is a person's inherent qualities of our mind and character. So example is that, okay, when I have a tendency always to go eat fantastic food. Okay, maybe I'm attracted to a particular restaurant, I'll always go there. Or another example is whenever I hear this music, I just want to listen to that music. My mind is always saying for that. Another example that reminds me is, there was a person who was a very big fan of Aishwarya Roy. So wherever there is a movie of Aishwarya Rai, he will go and see the movie of Aishwarya Rai. It doesn't matter how much the ticket price is. He will find a way and go get it, watch. So that's because we have these vrittis, that is our tendencies, that is built into our mind, right? So those are known as the vrittis. Now then something known as vasanas. So we have the propensities. So we all have material desires. These are the things that we have a example is not examples. Basically, we want to control this one. I don't want to listen to this music, material Bollywood music. I'm a devotee now, so I just want to listen to only Vaishnava songs. That's my thinking, and I'm able to control it. But when we are outside, we are going on a trip somewhere, and we happen to listen to the same music which we used to love, our propensities are going to start kicking in. So we just start, our mind is bewildered there, and we started enjoying again back. So those are the things, basically. Vasanas. Vasanas is the one that we are not actually looking for it, but when we encounters it, we fall for it. So those are the vasanas. Then there is something called as samskaras. Samskaras are the impressions set in our chitta, in our subconsciousness. These are our set patterns. So these are coming from our past life as well. Samskaras are, so as we said earlier, So there are three subtle elements, that is mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these subtle elements. When we die, our gross elements just go away, right? We leave our gross elements here, but the three subtle elements carries us to our next body. So we are this human birth. We assume that we take an animal birth next day, but our mind, intelligence, false ego carries back, and until again we comes back to another human birth by the mercy, or once we have finished all our karmas, we are coming back to human birth, and at that times we still carry these three subtle elements. Now, so what we need to do is we need to basically uproot these. We need to understand, each and every one of us have all the three things, right? What is actually disturbing us? We need to analyze carefully. Usually we cannot do it ourselves. We need the help of a Shiksha Guru or people like Satsara Prabhu who can help us, understand. We can have an honest discussion. We first analyze ourselves, then we can have a discussion with the senior devotees and understand where we can improve, so that I can continue my upward pull, right? We want to go to the upward pull. So like one example is like we may have a so this samskaras that becomes basically samskaras are basically a stockpile of all those impressions that created over thousands of our birth, right? So we still have the propensities to enjoy something or to have more sense enjoyment. So even for brahmacharis who are actually trying to control everything, even they have those propensities. So the samskaras are there, the set patterns are there. So in order to come out of that, actually we need to and by the way, the samskaras basically are connected with this vrittis and vasanas, right? So basically the samskaras influences our vritti and gives rise to a lot of vasanas. So that's how they are connected. So from our past life we have that that those old impressions actually gives rise to vrittis, and vrittis in turn leads to our vasanas. So, but there is a good news. Even though we have all these things, we have a solution for this. The solution is that Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, through Bhakti Yoga, that is a devotional process, we can actually overcome all these issues of the mind. When we engage our mind in the devotional service of the Lord, what happens is we don't have a place for these kinds of old vrittis and samskaras to come back. Now, if we can engage our mind 24/7 in devotional services, then absolutely there is no chance for it. Of course, that is not practical for most of us, but we can. This is a gradual process. We can improve step by step and start controlling our mind through strong determination, sadhana, and right association. And by the mercy of Guru and Shastra, we can actually overcome this. So we have hope. It's a good thing. So what did we learn today? So we learned that how Krishna is introducing various yoga process to Arjuna, and of all, Bhakti Yoga is the best process. And with strong determination and strong sadhana and scrutinizingly studying the scriptures and with great disassociation, we should be able to control our mind. And studying our vrittis, vasanas and samskaras and seeking guidance from advanced devotees such as Diksha and Shiksha Gurus, we will be able to have more advancement in controlling our mind and senses, and keep our mind in our control, not in Maya's control. That's what we learned. So with that, I will open up for any comments or questions. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Radha Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you so much for the class, Prabhu. From bottom of my heart, this is one of the best classes with more technical insights into the mind. So, thank you so much, Prabhu. It was very helpful. And I really mean by it from sincerely. It's not a flattery or anything. From the bottom of my heart, this is one of the best technical insights onto the mind workings. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. One question, Prabhu, you talked about controlling the mind. So sometimes, Prabhu, I feel like on situations where it is not harmful, right? Sometimes I felt like instead of controlling the mind, it's better to go and enjoy it, right? And that way, it doesn't come back to me later, right? Or I don't dwell on it too much. Like, for example, from when I was young, like I want to drive a SUV, right? Then I want to always think about SUVs, and then but once I got my SUV, now my passion is ended. So I kind of I don't no longer think about it. I'm not thinking about downsizing and things like that. I know what the problems with the SUVs and stuff, how much it costs me and all. So, Prabhu, is that okay to sometime should always control the mind, or if it is okay to go and get it satisfied so it doesn't come back to you? What do you think about it, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhakaran Prabhu, for the wonderful question. First of all, all this knowledge I shared is nothing from me. It's all coming from our senior devotees like Satyajara Prabhu and from the scriptures. So we are just giving this knowledge, whatever is already in the scriptures. We are just expressing it here. So again, coming back to your question. So the real question is, should we fully control our mind on sense gratification or not, is the question. So why we have to control our mind is the question, basically. Or should we yield to the desires of our mind? So as we said, mind is the driver. So mind can actually take us to wherever we want, right? So what's happening is when we are if we are at the mercy of the mind, okay, if we are at the mercy of the Maya is going to keep us back again into this material world only. So there is no escape from that. So those two things don't go together, meaning we can either have Krishna or Maya, right? So only one of them, darkness versus brightness, sun. Either sun is there or darkness is there. Both cannot coexist. So if we wherever there is sun, darkness cannot be there. So if we have to make progress, spiritual progress, as per Lord Krishna's advice, we have to control our mind, and we have to control the mind so that we can focus on Krishna. So Krishna wants us back there, right? And if the real reason why we are in this material world is because we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna, and Krishna wants us back, so that you are focusing on Krishna rather than our material desires. Now, it may, as you said, the example which you said, if I satisfy our material desires, that is temporary. That whatever satisfaction that we, and our mind is going to, Maya is going to give us more such things. It's not going to be an ending anytime. It is going to keep coming. The desires are like in Bhagavad-Gita 2nd chapter, it says the desires are going to come like a river flowing, right? The river water is coming, and it is actually merging with the ocean, but ocean remains steady. So a person who is steady with the determination, it's not going to affect him. But a person who is not steady, that inflow of desires is going to keep coming. We think that we may be in control, but in reality, we may not be in control at all, because that is how the material world is. Our material world is designed by the energy of Lord Maya to keep us in this material world. And by how it's done? By giving us more and more sense enjoyment, putting us into more by giving more desires, we're going to be entangled in this material world. So from the instructions of the Bhagavad-Gita, we should definitely try to control our mind. I would like Satyasara Prabhu's opinion also on this one, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhu. I mean, you nicely summed it up, Radha Damodar Prabhu. The answer is fantastic. Just maybe one more point I would add to Prabhakar Prabhu's question is maybe from the practical point of view. So maybe two thoughts, Prabhu. So one comes to my mind is the verse Krishna says, Kama rupena kaunteya dusparena analena cha. I think it's avritam jnanam etena jnanina nitya vairina, Krishna says. Meaning, if the man or the woman's pure consciousness is covered by the lust means kama, any desires, material desires, whatever, which is ungodly, which is never satisfied. Even if you get engaged in it, it never satisfied, like a burning fire. It just burns us. So that's the principle Krishna said. Even there is a desire and you engage in it, it will never be satisfied. It may be satisfied for some time. Again, it's going to come in a different form. It's like a law of conservation of energy. The energy disappears in one form, it comes back in another form, like that. So that's the principle Krishna gives. However, in the practically speaking, in our life, yes, we have practical need. Car is a need, actually. It's not a want anymore. So what kind of car I can have? So maybe we have a dream, want to have expensive car and whatnot. So that's why we need to act under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Sasa that Radha Damodar Prabhu was talking about. So we cannot make an independent decision, because we always made the independent decision. If we always wanted to have freedom, we do not want to listen to Krishna or Shastra or whatever. That's how we acted. Because of that, we are suffering. So the idea is that even the desire is so burning, and maybe it is a gray line want and need or whatever, we have to work under guidance. Okay, so this is the need. What should I do? So maybe you can put a pause button and say that, okay, let me see if this desire is really strong. So let me not act on it. We just put a pause and just divert your mind, and you can tell your mind that I am not ignoring you. I will definitely process this. Just give me some time. Then just wait for some more time and see if the desire keeps developing or it subsiding. If it keeps developing and the desire is not breaking any principles, religious principles, then of course we can discuss with senior devotees and see, this is what the desire is and what should I do. It keeps growing. It's not subsiding. Then with the consultation and based on different considerations, right? The family, the finance, and is the desire not fulfilling the desire taking us closer to Krishna or not? So there are different considerations we have to make and get engaged in the desire. Okay, or we completely don't engage also. But it's not decision made by ourselves. It is in alignment with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you, Satyasara Prabhu and Radha Damodar Prabhu for nice answers. I think I understand what you guys are saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Satyasara Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhakaran Prabhu, for the nice question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very good, informative and descriptive, your classes. I enjoyed it very much. And the thing is that unless and until we have surrendered to Guru and Krishna, Guru means bona fide spiritual master, all these dualities will keep on coming because we are in this material body. So all the answers I see in your class is that we have to keep on progressing towards our bhakti. Otherwise, Maya will keep us pulling us back to it. But once Maya see that we are in bhakti, Maya would be helping us to reach our goal with the help of Guru and Shastra and um, um, devotees, senior devotees. Thank you very much. Beautiful class. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful points you have mentioned. All these are coming from by the mercy of the Guru and Shastra, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Satruva Prabhuji.
Prabhu, that's a wonderful class. I learned a lot, and it is like again reminding all those things, principles. And one point I liked is like scrutinizingly studying the Shastra. That I remembered that we should not read the Shastra, we need to study the Shastra. So that's a wonderful point, Prabhu, and wonderful class as well, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu, as everyone said, such a nice class, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I look forward to hear from you more, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Okay, looks like no more questions. So I will hand over back to you, Satyarupa Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you once again, Radha Damodar Prabhu, for the wonderful class and enlightening us and reminding us intact with this bhakti path. So then next part of our program is Narsimha Arti, and after that Satyasara Prabhu will do announcements before we are concluding today's Sunday Feast class, Sunday Feast program. Now Narsimha Arti will be singing by Prachi Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prachi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralad alad daine. Pralad alad daine. Hiranye kashipur vakshaha. Hiranye kashipur vakshaha. Shilatanka nakhalaye. Shilatanka nakhalaye. Ito Narsimha, Parito Narsimho. Ito Narsimha, Parito Narsimho. Yato yato yami tato Narsimha. Yato yato yami tato Narsimha. Bahir Narsimho, Hirdaye Narsimho. Bahir Narsimho, Hirdaye Narsimho. Narsimham Adim Sharanam Prapade. Narsimham Adim Sharanam Prapade. Tab kare kamal vare nakham. Adbhut shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Ab kare kamal vare nakham. Adbhut shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव, जय नरसिंह देव, जय नरसिंह देव, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव, जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
Thank you, Prachi Mataji, for nicely singing the Narsimharati. Next, Satyasara Prabhu will
Yes,
do
Prabhu.